All right, so the last time we left off with the Unisys CWP4663, also known as the Tulip computer TC40, and a few other different variations and models and manufacturers, but we got it working. We did have an issue with the 1 gig CF card for whatever reason, and as I mentioned in the previous video through some on-screen text, I did test that card back in my NEC PC and it worked just fine, so I don't know if there's just a compatibility issue with that card and this board, or the card and the adapter in this board, or some combination thereof. We did get it to work with a 256 meg drive, which for a 486 is probably typical. I know 486s would come with 500 meg drives or less. And so a 256 meg drive is probably not that out of the realm of possibility for this, but I'd like to get something larger in here. I do have this Cloud Disk 2 gig card. I have no idea if it's going to work in here or not. I also have this other quote-unquote generic 1 gig card that when I tested it, it wouldn't work right with my CF adapter that I used, that I would use to hook it up to like a modern PC. But it does seem to work as a fixed disk. Now, this might have already been set to fixed disk mode. I don't know why just this card. So we'll try this one too and see if it works. I prefer the 1 gig card, even though this system at some point did have a 2 gig hard drive. I don't think you need more than a gig for a 486. Now, again, that's just me. Everyone's going to have a different use case scenario. So we'll try that. But if that doesn't work, I'll see if I have a 512 meg card somewhere. I don't know. But the most important thing we have to do right now is to give this a cleaning because, well, there is some dust bunnies in there. Have to address this rust over here. And I just want to give it just a general wipe down. I also want to take apart the floppy drive, at least enough to get rid of any dust bunnies that are in there, clean the heads, even though everything seems to work. Still want to do that. Plus, I do want to discuss getting some other things installed in here. I mentioned the AZTEch sound card. I think I'm going to go with this one here. It's basically a Sound Blaster Pro compatible card. It does have a wavetable header on here and an IDE port in case I do want to add a CD-ROM drive. And it's supposed to be a pretty decent card. I do have drivers for it somewhere. I just got to find them. And I did print out a nice little hard drive bracket. Unfortunately, I could not find a design that... oh, well, actually, I missed that part there. That's a little... clean my print bed. But I did not find anything that has mount holes on the bottom. So it's going to be a little tough. And even then, looking at this here, they wouldn't line up anyway with a standard hard drive, I don't think. Actually, something I just noticed is there are additional holes here. So there has to be some sort of a bracket that attaches here and here. So I'll figure something out. I mean, I do have these mount holes here. I don't know if they line up or not. Probably not. Well, they actually kind of do. So if I could get something to be able to attach to the bottom to kind of suspend this, that might work. Yeah, that would work just fine. So I can either 3D print something, modify the design, and 3D print something, just have, you know, a little stand, foot, whatever. Or I can even just put something underneath and call it a day, maybe some rubber feet or something. But again, that's for the future. We're going to take this apart, though. Oh, wait. Actually, I may put a CD-ROM drive in there. This is, again, from that Packard Bell Legend system. It did have some rust on it, so I don't even know if it works or not. I'll have to do some testing. Definitely got to give it a cleaning. I don't know if it's belt-driven or not. We'll find out. I'll just start with the riser first. I think there's only one screw holding it in place. No, there's one on the other side here. This one's missing, so to see if I have any matching screws. So there's one back here. And this should just slide out. And now we got to get the drive out and the power supply. It's just this one screw here. Yep. A little bit of dust. I don't think there's really much going on in there, but we'll still open up real quick and examine it just to be safe. There's a little bit of rust over here. And other than just some dirt, everything should be all right. I do need to take a look. It could just be leftover flux, but there's a little bit of white residue here and here. And since this does have some rust on it, I gotta be safe. So also let me remove the power button. Alrighty. Running out of room here. But there's the overall case. Dirty, but not horrible. Again, we gotta address this rust over here. It's dirty back there, so it's kind of hard to say if there's any rust or not, but we'll address that a little bit. Oh, it's just all dust there. Never actually looked at the bottom of this thing. It's like 3 of the feet are missing, and it's using felt pads. So we'll have to put some, I'm probably just going to put some rubber pads down there and leave it at that. I don't have any of this type of, actually no, I might have some of these. I'll have to look upstairs and see. Although having rubber ones will allow it to, not shift around much. We'll see. Yeah, so I'll give this a cleaning, as well as the entire top shell and front bezel. And I'll do that off camera because I don't know if you guys enjoy watching cleaning montages or anything like that. And I don't want to bore everybody. What we'll do is then we'll come back after it's been cleaned, and then we'll tear apart the power supply, take a look at it, make sure that, again, that there's nothing wrong inside, and also take a look at the floppy disk drive, get everything back together, and really get into this thing. All right, while everything is drying, let's go ahead and get this taken apart so we can examine it, and then also so I can address all of that. It's just the 2 screws. There we go. Wow, there's a lot of dust in there. So maybe no one's ever been in here before. It's hard to say. I mean, just off the top, the capacitors are bulging from the top, no leaking, so that's a good sign. We know the fuse is in good shape because it powered on. But yeah, I'm going to have to take this and blow it out because it is dirty. And then I'll get a better look at all of the components, make sure everything is good to go. Oh, we do have... Oh. Piece of PCB just fell out. But from where? And I don't see any traces, so it might not be a big deal. But right from here. We'll have to examine that a lot more closely because gotta make sure that there isn't any permanent damage on there. Because again, this power supply is unique in that it has an extra connector P3 that provides 3.3 volts to the motherboard. I'm going to take it apart anyway because I got to get at the fan, dust, etc. So, but there is, as I was going to say, a small RIFA cap here. And it is glued in place. I wonder if I have one just like it. I'll have to take a look and see. I think there's only the one screw holding it. Oh, no, there is one more under this little plastic shroud, which is attached to what I believe to be the voltage selector switch between North American current and most of the rest of the world. And I know some parts of the world do use 110 to 120, 115 in this case, and 230. So I think that's what that switch does. It's a mechanical switch that activates a switch on here. So I need more hidden secret screws in here. I wonder if there's a way to remove this here. There's probably someone on the internet that's already taken one of these apart, and I could just follow that, but what fun is that? Okay, it does not come out that way. That could be a problem then. Okay, I removed a screw from here, and I was able to loosen that up a little bit. I still have to worry about these wires here that are soldered in. But I'm wondering if it's still enough for me to just lift this out of here. It almost seems like there's something else holding it down. It's not that, because it could just be these sockets, which only come out this way. So I may have to desolder them. I did remove these ground pins as well. Why do they always make it so complicated? But it's pretty much because of these sockets, at least the bottom one. This one would have a little bit of leeway just because of the wiring here. I really don't want to have to desolder them, but I won't have a choice, I guess. Let me take a picture of them so I know the wiring order, just to be safe. So actually, the bottom socket is soldered directly to the board, as well as some wiring. The green wire here for the front power button. How did they get that in there? Because this has to be probably going about this all wrong, but I just don't know how I can take this apart without... I mean, unless... No, because again, the pins directly solder into the board itself, and I don't know if it's showing up in camera. It's probably not. But that pin right there from the main socket there is soldered directly into the board, as is this one. But the only way to get the socket in is to push it in from the outside because of the way that they're designed. It's got this little shroud or what have you that goes around to keep it from, falling all the way into the power supply casing. I might not be able to take this apart after all. It does look like this damage here is just superficial. There are no traces, although it's pretty close to one. But nothing, actually got damaged there. Getting to the this RIFA cap here is going to be difficult too, just because I can't remove everything. And I could probably try to loosen up the glue to an extent. But it's soldered to the ground pin and the right pin on the power socket here. But if I can even just loosen it so I can see what its value is, I can see if I got a replacement for it. It doesn't look like it has any... Actually, it does look like it has some cracks in it, which means at some point that is going to blow. So it has to be replaced. And if I don't have that value, then I have to order it, and that means this video gets delayed, and I don't want it to get delayed. Just because of some simple thing. Let's see. And yeah, so when I removed the glue, it took a piece of the capacitor with it, which means it's probably ready to go. I can kind of sort of read. There's one number on here, 4. And through the glue, I can kind of sort of read N7Y. So 4N7. So yeah, so a 4N7 is actually a 4.7 nanofarad. So it would be 0.0047 microfarads. Let me see what I've got in my supply here. So it turns out I do have them, and I will tell you right now, I could not read that for the life of me, and it's not going to show up on camera at all. I don't know why, but the printing they chose, the ink for it is like a gray color, and on this shade of blue, it's almost impossible to see. Tried to focus with my camera. My personal camera has like a pseudo macro mode, and I could barely make out. But this is a 4700 picofarad capacitor, so I can replace this with this. And this is a Y capacitor, so it is a safety cap. It should be good. I do have some other values as well too. No clue what they are because I can't read them, and the camera can't make it out either. So I'm gonna blow all the dust out, get it cleaned up. We'll get this, at least this one capacitor replaced. And I'll do one final look over once the dust is out, give me a better idea of the what the board looks like. Try my best to clean this fan and go from there. So I went ahead and gave it a cleaning, and I decided to just solder the capacitor on because it would be easier. One thing I realized when I pull this back to try to clean in there, there's no plastic sheet or anything separating the bottom of the PCB with the power supply casing. Now there's like maybe a 2mm gap, and it's probably safe. But I went and grabbed one of these sheets out of an old junk power supply. I'm just going to toss it in there once I'm ready to put it together. So I'm going to try to get this fan clean. I tried to clean it as much as I could with a brush and a vacuum to suck up as much of it as I could. But I can't get the actual blades on this side here. I may just bite the bullet and clip these rubber, whatever you call them, and do a proper cleaning that way. So yeah, it's still pretty dirty. Dust is falling out of it, so I guess I didn't have a choice. I'm going to go ahead and just give this a cleaning and hopefully get it to as close to as new as possible. So here's the after. Pretty good, if I say so myself. So yeah, I'm going to have to obviously screw this back in here with screws, and, well, we'll do that. I did add that little plastic sheet down there to act as an insulator. So let me see, what's the orientation? Airflow this way. I'll plug in. I got to find some appropriate screws, and I managed to find some. I'm going to have to try to secure one of the screws in this orientation because these tabs here make it difficult to stand this up, and this is going to fall over. So let me get one screw secured. We'll flip this upward. We can get the rest of them in here on camera. All right, hopefully that will hold it in place. We can get the rest of these in here. I just realized that these are cut out, probably to make it easier to install it, even with those little rubber grommet plug things. Well, hopefully this will be enough to hold it in place. And the last one. Which doesn't want to cooperate. All right, cool. Now I gotta zip tie these back in place just to keep them secured. Now I'm gonna use these yellow ones because why not? We won't completely tighten that just yet. And then I think that should be secure enough. There. Let's reconnect the fan before I forget. And it's not perfect, but it's a lot cleaner than it was. I thought about gluing the broken piece of PCB, well, fiberglass part of it, but again, because there's no traces or anything, I'm not that worried about it. Of course, because I bent this outward, it's not perfect. Just do one more once. I'm going to put some hot glue here, and for whatever reason, these were never glued in place, which these larger capacitors usually are, so I'm going to put some hot glue on there just to keep them secured, vibrations, all that stuff. All right, we'll let that dry and get this cover back on. Now I have to address this, and I'm going to use a Dremel for that. I'm not going to get every square inch, but I do want to make sure that I get as much of it as I can. All right, and I'm not going to repaint this entire thing and mask off and everything just to protect these parts here. So instead, I'm just going to use a silver paint pen. Hopefully it still works. Hopefully it's not dry. And hopefully it's sufficient. That'll last a million years. Probably not, but let's wrap this up. And let's hope that I can get it all back together after mucking around. Yeah, that should work. It's not perfect, again, because I bent it. But it's good enough. It'll do. It's clean. So, alright, on to the next thing. The floppy disk drive. Alright, so let me remove it from the bracket here. That'll need a little cleaning. Neutronics Company, Mitsumi, made in Philippines. Probably don't need this plugged in. We can give it a cleaning while I got it. In fact, I may look for a shorter one, because at the moment I don't have a 5 1/4 inch drive to put in here. I'm probably going to put a CD-ROM drive in there anyway, but we'll see. All right, all I want to do is open it up enough just so I can look inside, and it looks like, are there no screws holding it together? Is it just clips? It looks that way. Yeah, I guess there's just some clips holding it in place. And then the top one should be something similar. Oh, never mind. It's actually pretty clean. I just blow out some of the dust, clean the heads off a bit, and that'll be it. Maybe, oh, there's no dust in here even. Maybe someone performed maintenance on this drive already. That's actually pretty clean. I'll use the rest of it to... Oh, there's a bunch of dust on the inside of here. But for the most part, this is pretty good. I mean, I may put some extra grease on the worm gear here. Clean up the old stuff. But I'm not going to tear this down. I don't have the best of luck when it comes to floppy disk drives, so we'll just give it a light cleaning. Like I said, we'll relubricate the worm gear and call it a day. All right, let's get a little bit of grease on here. I'm just going to cut the end off of the Q-tip here. Hopefully, it'll just relubricate itself as it moves back and forth. All right, let's get this back together. There. Hopefully it still works. There we go. All right. I did put the screw back in to that mounts to the chassis just so I don't lose it. Let me go check on the plastic pieces, make sure they're dry. And then we have to actually attend to a minor issue with them. So it's not perfect. There are some imperfections, some scratches. There's some markings on there that I could probably only remove with like a magic eraser or something like that. I'm out at the moment, so they'll have to do for now, but I can probably get rid of them, after the fact. Ever so slight yellowing. I can see where a monitor stand was set up on top of this thing here, but it's not enough for me to want to retro-bright it, to be honest. But you see like these scuffs here. Even with elbow grease, it doesn't really do much. Well, there used to be an AZTEch over here. I know it's not showing up on camera because of the lighting, but... So the other issue is that this front half of the casing, it kind of snaps in place. I don't think it's plastic welded or anything, but it has come loose and broken. And they've tried taping it, and in fact, in one spot, They, because it got a little bit up here, they tried to glue it back together, and I think that's why this side won't completely come out. But in theory, it should just unsnap and detach, but it doesn't. So I may just glue it back together here and here just to hold it in place and call it a day. Hopefully this glue isn't dried out. We will let that sit and dry, and that'll give me a chance to get some magic erasers and get rid of these little marks here and there. I know it's going to mess with the texture, but these black specks kind of bother me more. So, and with how many scuffs and dings this thing already has, not a big deal in my opinion. All right, I think that's it. All I have left to do is basically put everything back together. So we've got this. We've got to get the... Wait, this way. Motherboard back in. I still have to figure out one or two more screws for the actual motherboard, since I am missing one. Let me look at my screw collection and see what I've got. So I don't have anything that's a close match for this type of a sheet metal screw, unfortunately, so I'm just going to have to make do, I think. Shouldn't be that big of a deal. I'm going to get the motherboard installed first, because I don't want the power supply in the way. Let me go ahead and get this installed first. There. I'm also not sure what I want to do about this piece here. It's a retention bracket to keep everything installed, but there are separate screws here. Actually, I can probably... No, because if these are the type of screws that they're using in here, if I had the retention bracket, I'd just steal one of these screws, put it there and be done with it. But I think what I'll do is grab one of these hard drive screws and just see if I can... Actually, that'll work just fine. Doesn't go on all the way. Okay, let me address this here. I've never used these style clips before for a heatsink or anything, so I don't even know if I'm doing it right. You know what? I think that'll work. CPU is in a socket the way it should be. All right. Power supply. One of the reasons I hope this still works is because of the fact that it's got this custom 3.3 volt connector on here. Still not sure what P4 does, but all right. Black to black. There's a fan header over here. Someone was thinking ahead. I do have the new battery in. The bracket is in. Now you can't see the whole casing just because of the overall size of this thing. So I've got the 3D printed little bracket mounted to the front here. There's two screws here. It's floating a little bit, but It's fine. It's light. It doesn't vibrate because it's not a spinning rust or anything. So I've got the cables managed for now as well as they're going to be. I did put a shorter IDE cable in. I also installed the AZTEch sound card because I want to make sure first that it works. It doesn't cause any post issues or anything. And then I got to get the drivers and everything tested, and probably going to call it a wrap for tonight. For me, anyways, you guys, it'll be seconds before the next part of this video comes up because it's getting late and I got to eat still and all that fun stuff. So, okay, so I'm actually going to scrap the last 2 hours of video that I took because I decided to change some things around. The CD-ROM drive that I was going to use from the old Packard Bell XL, whatever model it was, I think 130, it just doesn't work. So, long story short, the eject mechanism, something with that is just not right. On that particular drive, I don't know if they're all like that. When you eject the tray, the laser assembly kind of lowers itself to allow the tray to go through. So when you close it, it's supposed to come back up again, and that's not happening. There was also a broken belt that I replaced. It didn't seem to really fix the issue. So I was going to originally just scrap having an optical drive in here at all, especially since I originally said I didn't want one. I was going to put a 5¼ inch drive in there, but then I realized getting software into this thing is going to be a little bit more difficult because while I did find a 1 gig card that will work, if I could get rid of the glare, this card for some reason is set to work only as a fixed disk, period. It will not work in any card reader at all. It only works in these adapters, and trying to manually set it with that utility, I forget what it's called, did not seem to help anything. But that's fine because I want to use these as a hard drive anyway, but it does make it difficult to be able to remove this, put it into another machine, copy files, and etc. So I was like, all right, well, let me go on eBay. Maybe I can find an optical drive or something. But then I remembered I actually had one. Unfortunately, it's gray, but it's close enough in gray to the power button that I'm okay with that. Besides, it works. I might still try to find a beige one somewhere, but we'll see. There is a nest of cabling. I cannot cable manage this any better than it already is, unfortunately, just because of the design of the case and the cabling and everything. Maybe I'll be able to find something a little bit better. I am a little concerned over here because some of these ventilation holes on the power supply are blocked, but this doesn't generate a ton of heat anyway. We should be all right. Got the AZTEC sound card in. I've got the CD audio cable plugged in. I also have a extra stick of RAM. I found one. I now have a total of 16 megs of RAM on this thing. I did do a quick test. Everything does seem to work. And I say that now before I box everything up. But I think I'm ready to box everything up. I still did not work out the tabs. I'm going to see if I can try to 3D print some design them, and I'll worry about them later. But for now, I just want to get this thing wrapped up, and I'm going to move this back upstairs into the office so that we can actually mess around with it, play with it, throw some software on there, and see what this thing can do. I've already got DOS fully installed on the card. I do want to install Windows. I don't have it installed yet. And I don't have any of the sound drivers installed. Obviously, no video drivers since there's no Windows on there. So I want to mess around with everything. The ID cable, I had to have an extension to extend it just a few extra inches just to be able to reach because of where I have the CF card placement. Even if I had it flipped around, still wouldn't have reached. I did think about maybe connecting the optical drive to the IDE header on the AZTEC sound card. It is IDE, but I would rather have the BIOS control it for now. If I see any issues or if there's a problem, whatever, I may switch it around after. We'll see. But for now, let's go ahead and we'll get this here. And then of course, now that I've got everything lined up, I think it's lined up. There's this little lip here on the inner shielding, but the actual holes line up, so I'm not quite sure what to make of that. However, I do have a problem because I have no way of actually securing that. I don't think any of the screws I have will actually work. But I do need to secure some kind of a screw, otherwise it's going to slide around. So I may just have to fit some kind of screw in here and see. Actually, I may have something. I have this screw here. It's probably a plastic screw, but the threading on it is such a way that it kind of sort of it's too small. Darn. Thought I had something there. What do I do? Let's see. I guess we'll try one of these hard drive screws. The threading isn't quite ripe. When the threading isn't right, though, it's going to be a tight fit, and cross-threading is definitely going to be a thing. But I need to keep it from sliding back and forth, so... Alright, let's do one more boot before I take this upstairs, because I don't want to run into any additional issues. We'll probably have to adjust the BIOS, just because it loaded the defaults due to an incomplete boot. That's from me fiddling with the power button while trying to... There. So, make sure it still sees everything. Yep. Oh, interesting. Guess I never paid attention to that before. Good, good, good. You know what? They paid money for that licensing. Let's put that on. Okay, good, 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 good. Do we need this? Let's turn it on. Actional cache we want. That should speed things up a little bit. We do not have a plug-and-play operating system. Let's reset config data to be safe. We don't need any passwords or anything. Power management will leave. Let's see how far we can get. It's interesting that it does a floppy seek twice. There's that weird video timing thing. I hope that's not indicative of an issue. But I suppose we'll find out if I hook it up to another monitor. Everything there. Make sure the optical drive reads. It ejects. That's a good sign. I have a few older optical drives that don't eject properly on the first try after being mothballed for months, years at a time. All right. Cool. All right. Let's go back up in the office where it's not so basementy and see what we can do with this thing. And here we are back in my office. And as you can see, it's upside down. Why is it upside down? Well, that's because I forgot that I need to swap out the feet, and I already spent the time moving the vestiges of the old feet and everything, as much of the adhesive as I could. There's a little bit left that I just could not remove for some reason, but whatever. So I went through my collection of rubber feet, couldn't find anything that really went well with it. So I went on Amazon, ordered a little pack here, and these would be the perfect size. So I will go ahead and put those on now. Now, the unfortunate thing about this particular kit is it only comes with one of these. So if I ever need more of these, I have to order a whole new kit. I mean, I guess technically I have this, so I could cut some out, but, you know, whatever. But these should be a perfect fit. And they are. Now, again, I know the original one, well, the one last foot remaining there was more of like the felt pad style. I don't know if you've ever dealt with felt pads before, but they can be slippery. And I'd rather not this slide around everywhere. So, and there we go. All right, I'm going to flip this over and we'll continue. All right, that's done. I've got it already hooked up to a monitor here and to power. However, we are going to need a keyboard. And of course, the mouse system's keyboard is going to come into play here since it matches color basically perfectly. But I also have a mouse systems mouse, which has some cardboard debris on it because I found a new old stock on eBay. Although someone did take the UPC code because apparently there was a rebate or something that they needed, and they just never used the mouse. So we will have a serial mouse. And I know this has PS2 ports, but come on, I can't not use this. All right, everything's hooked up. Now we'll switch to the monitor so we can actually see everything working still, because I want to do one more test before we proceed with anything else. Because, you know, my luck is such that work downstairs, I'll bring it up, and it won't. So I'm going to dim the light over here just to make it a little bit easier to see the screen. There is that little bit of glare, unfortunately. Good enough. I just want to give you guys the best chance of seeing the screen, so it's on. I hear the fan, although, again, it's not a loud fan. It's not quiet, but it's not loud. It's still strange to me that it seeks the floppy drive twice. I gotta go and see if there's a setting in the BIOS for that or not. Maybe it's normal. I don't know. And there we go. Cool. All right, let me get the mouse driver loaded first. So let's get that installed real quick. What do we got on here? Setup. We don't have Windows, though, yet. There we go. Cool. Uh-oh. Well, I mean, this is from possibly 1995, so... All right, never mind. Cool. I like how it says setup is done. You have to reboot the system to load the driver, but they don't tell you to eject the disk first. Because, you know, everyone knew to do that back in the mid-90s. Did it modify auto-exec? I don't remember seeing that. Nope, there we go. Now, I know I could probably just load up something like Cute Mouse or something like that, and it uses a little bit less memory. And in fact, I'm wondering, wait, let's see first if it works. Yay, we have a cursor. Now, I'm also curious to see. All right, let's see if we can do it this way. And reboot again. Cool, it does work when you load it high. Yay, mouse support. All right, next, do I want to install the sound drivers for DOS first and see if it even works and then maybe go into Windows, or do we want to do Windows next? Let me think about this. So the card is supposed to be a PNP card, and I'm really glad that I took a picture of it because I don't want to have to open this back up again. There are some jumpers on here. Jumper config mode, EEPROM setting, software setting. Guessing that has to do with the IDE stuff since that's all lumped over here. And again, maybe it's not. Maybe, oh no, because we have another jumper setting for different types of microphone. Because there are some headers here. You can hook up additional connectors. That, I think, is probably for a wavetable to enable that. But it's the only jumper there. There's no other jumpers here to set any of the addresses, the I/O, anything like that. So hopefully hopefully it is just a plug and play one and go from there. Now, do I need to change the BIOS back to plug and play OS or not? I guess we'll find out. So I'm going to go with DOS mode first, and we'll see if it works. All right, there were 2 disks, I believe, so I just copied the contents to the system here because why not? And it looks like we've got a setup.exe and an install.exe. DOS is usually install. So let's see. Sure, why not? Wow, that was quick. We don't have CD-ROM support enabled on the cards, so I don't want to worry about that. But I do want to configure do we want those settings or do we want these standard settings? When I say standard, I mean the typical ones there. Okay. Windows sound system support. Interesting. No, you know what? I think I want to keep it Sound Blaster compatible. MIDI looks good. I think that's correct. No CD-ROM drive, because again, we're using the onboard IDE controller of the motherboard. I think that's it. So I didn't need disk 2. I wonder if that's just the Windows specific stuff. We'll just hit enter to exit and then we'll reboot. And I'll be back. Set Blaster, set Galaxy. Ooh, I wonder what the K10 is for and the PF40. Now I wonder, so we've got the MM Pro 16. I wonder if there's a test that we can run. You can set the volume mixer. There's a WinMix W. Wonder why they would have installed that. Demo FM, Demo 8, Demo 16. Maybe if I run those. Let's do Demo 16. Oops. Oh, those are wave. Oh, the 16 is a wave file. Something happening? Incorrect options. I guess not. Let me try this here. Demo 8. And again, the options could also be the sound card settings. What's Demo FM? OPL address. I don't think we have that set, do we? Oh. OPL's working. So do we have to do the same thing with Demo 8? No. Or something is set incorrectly. Run config again just to see. Yeah, it's just the same settings. So we also have set mode. It's already set up in Sound Blaster mode. What's WinMix W? I'm pretty sure I know, but let's just find out. Just in case. Yeah. Diagnose. Sound card is not found, but yet we heard something playing. What's the hardware set? Oops. One of these days I'll learn how to type. Okay, so it's just a command line utility to set everything that the basically everything that set mode does and config. So, all right, well, what else do we have here? Just a drivers folder and a user help file. I'm guessing that's the Windows help file. Then we got a README. How to set up CD-ROM. How to install on Windows. Info about upgrading. Cards with 3D function, which I don't remember if this does or not, but I also don't really care. NT info. And that's it. There's really nothing here. Let's do this instead here. Still hear the PC speaker. FM synth. But no sound. Interesting. Let's go back. Let's go back to the default settings. And we're back. All right, let's try again. Still hear PC beep. Still got FM synth. But no actual sound effects. I may have to do a little bit of research. So this is interesting. If I go back into the configuration, these are the settings that it's set. Even though when we did the default, it set everything to 220, 5, 1. All right, so the settings are updated here in the AutoExec. So 247.3. Let's see. FM synth. Ooh. We got sound. Game seems to run really well. I mean, it's 100 megahertz effectively, so. So sound works. That's a good sign. So now, mouse, sound, time for Windows. Okay, so we've got it up and running to an extent. Actually, probably more than that, but we're going to wrap this up here only because of the fact that this is already going to be long. And I know I didn't want to do more than 2 parts, but I think I'm going to take part 3 and focus exclusively on just using this thing. And at the very least, though, sound is working, video's working, the system itself in general is working. So, you know, we're doing good here. And yeah, this is a stupid easy game to but it still works really well. So I'm happy with the results. And there she will sit until we can get to part 3, which should be soon. If not by next week, then maybe even sooner. The only problem I'm going to have now is where to put it, but that's a future cause problem. So what do you guys think? Leave some comments down below. Otherwise, thanks all. Catch you later.